Hey there, everybody. It's me, your buddy Dave from thedarkstuff.com and the Dark Stuff channel here on YouTube. Thanks a lot for checking out my latest video. In today's video, I'm going to do a little concert tale. I'm going to take you back in time to specifically February 10, 1987, the Omaha Civic Auditorium where RATT was playing on the Dancing Undercover tour, and the opening act was Poison. A couple of things actually prompted me to want to make this video. Okay, so number one, about a year and a half or so ago, I was digging around in my parents' basement and I found this treasure trove of all my old 80s hair metal posters. Like, folks, back then in the 1980s, I was obsessed with this kind of music. You know, they call it hair metal now, but back then it was just metal, glam metal or whatever. And I loved every one of these bands. It was like Motley Crue and RATT and Ozzy and Kiss and I liked all of them. That was about 95% of the music that I listened to back then. So, I was digging around. I found all these old posters and I found, a shit ton of magazines like this. This is Faces from, I think this would be September 1985. It's got Motley Crue on the Theater of Pain tour. It's got a big pull-out poster of Nikki Sixx on the back there. So I had tons of this stuff, and I've been digging through it and looking at stuff, and I found a package of photos from when I met Poison doing an in-store at Homer's Record Store in Bellevue, Nebraska, before that RATT Poison show. On my other channel, Rock and Roll Book Club, we just recently did a video on The Dirt by Motley Crue, okay? And I hadn't really thought about those 80s days in kind of a long time, it was a long time ago for me, but I lived it in the 80s. And from about 1982, 83, until probably about 88, 89, when I started getting over that kind of music, I saw every single show, of every heavy metal show that came to Omaha without fail. I thought for this video, I would sort of take you back in time into that period for me, show you some of the photos that I took of the show, some of the photos that I took of the Poison in-store, and just kind of give a little wrap-up on on a really great memory. Back in those days, 84, 85, 86, 87, my number one concert-going buddy was my friend Matt. He and I met in the 8th grade, and we were only like 2 places apart in our yearbook. And first of all, I don't know how anyone allowed me to go out in public with my hair looking like that. Like, what the hell? Anyways, once we became friends in the 8th grade and realized we had pretty much the identical taste in music, we started hitting virtually every single show together, and we saw just a million bands back in that period. If you were a visitor to my house, you would have seen in my room, I just had nothing but posters. It was Kiss and Motley Crue and RATT, and, I even have a Dokken one up there, which is kind of surprising because I never really was that into Dokken, but whatever. In the early days, when I first started going to concerts when I was, 12 and 13, my mom used to go with me, and she was always a really good sport about it. But once I started getting into like heavy metal shows, I think she figured like, you're fine. You can just like go on your own. You and your friends just do your thing. Back in probably like, 1986 or so, Matt and I were so obsessed with this music that we decided to create our own fanzine. We ultimately ended up calling it Mainstream Metal Magazine, and we only made that one issue there. But we hadn't done this yet, right? So my mom owned a little stationery store, so we made up letterhead for this magazine that we had, and we sent letters to all of the record companies, the major labels and the publicity department, and said, we're Mainstream Metal Magazine, we're in Omaha and whatever. And the first time we were ever able to parlay that into something was this particular RATT show in February of 1987. I don't think you'll be able to see this, but on the back of my RATT ticket, okay, it does say complimentary on the back. So we did manage to finagle free tickets and photo passes for this particular RATT show. And keep in mind, we were not even 16 years old, and we had never published anything, not even a page, zip, nothing. I mean, my history with RATT went way back to the beginning when they put out their first album, Out of the Cellar. I have this. I used to have it on cassette. I was able to see RATT on that first tour. By the way, I have all of their early records are great. Here's Invasion of Your Privacy. And, well, this is the first EP. Sorry, these are all out of order. Sorry. And then Dancing Undercover, which, by the way, I've done an entire video on Dancing Undercover in the past. In a series I did called Pulling Random Shit from My Record Collection, just FYI. Now, for this show, keep in mind I was 15. This is going to be my third time seeing RATT. The first time I saw them was here opening up for Billy Squier in 1984. And I don't specifically remember much of the RATT show, although I did like them at that time. But I really remember the Billy Squier show because the radio station we used to listen to, Z92, was doing a contest to like meet Billy Squier. And what you had to do is you had to make a big banner and hang it at the concert, and then, I don't know, Billy Squier's manager or the DJs or something from Z92 were going to come around and they were going to judge the banners. So my friend Bart and I, who I went to the concert with, we were 13 and 14, and we hadn't been to too many concerts. We didn't really know what they meant by banners. It meant like these gigantic cloth banners. We bought like poster board and made blow-ups of the ticket and the album and stuff, and we made our own little poster, and it was like creative for 14-year-olds, but bottom line is nobody could see it when we tried to hang it at the thing, so we weren't even a consideration. I'm not even sure anyone even noticed that we did it. Bottom line is we didn't win the contest, of course. Okay, they came back around the next year in November 1985. This time they were the headliner at the Omaha Civic Auditorium. Opening that show was Bon Jovi. Now, around this time, 9th grade, we introduced a new person into our little concert group. That was this girl, Nina, who had just, come to the school. I think she had just moved to town or something, or transferred to the school. And so she started coming to shows with Matt and I because she liked all of the same music. And for that RATT show, we went down and met Bon Jovi. They were doing an in-store at Homer's in the Old Market. I've lost a lot of these photos over time, but I still found like 2 or 3 of the Bon Jovi photos. So by 1986, the new RATT album was this one, Dancing Undercover, their third big record in a row, went platinum. The hits off this one were Dance, Drive Me Crazy, Slip of the Lip. They were still peaking out big time, and I was a huge fan of these guys. They could do no wrong at this point. RATT to me was like, musically they were kind of like a cross between, say, Aerosmith and what Ozzy was doing in the early 80s. RATT mixed it up well, and they were very catchy, and they never did ballads, okay? Largely because Stephen Pearcy just didn't have the range, and I'm happy about that because who needs them, right? Now, Matt and I used to keep up with all of the new bands. So whenever any of these glam metal bands put out a new record, we were like Johnny on the spot on top of it. And when Poison's first album, Look What the Cat Dragged In, came out in 86, we were both super on top of that one also. I mean, they got famous pretty fast, but it wasn't immediate. But, I mean, they did the MTV New Year's Eve 86 into 87, and I'd seen them a lot on MTV because by that point, radio had completely been replaced in my world by MTV. Z92 at that point had kind of lost its way. They just weren't playing the kind of music that I liked anymore. They wouldn't play RATT, Motley Crue, Kiss, whatever. So to me, they had kind of, blown it. They were like part of the past. And so I was focused on MTV and Headbangers Ball, although that didn't actually come out yet, but they had some other type of heavy metal shows. And they just played a lot of that stuff in regular rotation anyways. Poison were the big up-and-comers at the time. And they were on this tour opening for RATT. This was going to be their big break, They broke through pretty much right after this tour ended. So like I said, this was a few days before my 16th birthday, so I wasn't able to drive. None of us were able to drive. So we caught a ride out to Bellevue, Nebraska, which is the Homer's location that Poison was going to do the in-store of that particular day. And I was amped as fuck. I had my record, and I don't know if we were the first people in line, but we were certainly among the first people in line because I just remember we could see them right when they came in the back of the record store and they were just sitting there. And, I got photos of them right up front, and I walked up, got my record signed, took some pictures and stuff. And we all went through the line pretty quickly. Mostly what I remember about that is that they weren't wearing any makeup. And so I'd only seen the cover of the album and then seen their videos where they're all wearing the Femi kind of makeup. So they didn't look that. They did look kind of like, you know, in like they're wearing regular clothes or whatever, which was sort of strange at the time. So after we went through the line, got our stuff signed, then we decided, okay, well, we know they entered from the back, so let's walk around to the back of the record store and see what's going on back there. So we went back there and we waited until the thing was over and took a few more shots of the band, you know, getting into the limo and driving off. So you can see there's Ricky Rocket, there's Bret Michaels giving the thumb. Oh, you can sort of see him on the side there. Bobby Dahl, I think that was the bass player. And I only got the one picture with C.C. DeVille where he was sitting at the table. And they drove off in this limo, but then I also have this photo of the tour bus in the same parking lot, like a little ways away, like down there. So I don't really remember, but I feel like they took the limo from the store to the tour bus for like 2 minutes and then got in the tour bus and went back to the arena for the concert. Like, I don't know. They just wanted to arrive in a limo, look cool. So a couple other photos I found from that day. Here is the aforementioned Nina and my friend Matt there giving the thumbs up. The other guy, none of us really remember. You can see the crowd, though. Look at all those people still waiting in line to meet them. We don't know who this guy was. He just, like, we think he was a friend of the band who was kind of just in Omaha that day. Like, maybe he was, like, hanging out with the band, or maybe he was just some dude. We don't really know. But bottom line is, we took a picture with him with him holding up our signed album. And now if anyone knows who this guy is, you know, by all means, let me know. Okay, so then we went down to the concert later on to see RATT and to see Poison. And, you know, honestly, this was 1987. So we're talking, 37 years ago or something. So it's hard for me to remember a lot of specifics. But I do remember Poison had this little tiny bit of the stage and they played their show. And I remember thinking it was really cool. And then Matt and I separated because he had the photo pass to take the pictures of the concert for our magazine that we hadn't published yet, right? But I took my own photos too. You know, back then, you used to have to sneak cameras in because they didn't allow you to take pictures at shows. And it was the days before cell phones, obviously, so not everybody had a pocket-sized camera. The only thing I could do was I used to use a little disc camera, and I used to just stick it down my pants in my crotch area because the security guards would pat you down, but that was the one area where they couldn't touch you. So if you could get something in there, like, that was what you had to do. Now, Matt has no idea where his photos of that night are with the good camera and the good stuff. But when we did eventually publish our magazine, we did do a piece on it, and he put there's the photos of the shots that he took. So he's in the pit taking these pictures, and his were obviously a lot better than mine, and it's too bad we don't know where that is, but we turned it into an article, and we each gave a review. I reviewed RATT, he reviewed Poison. Now, this was probably like peak RATT. Like, this was their third platinum album in a row. They had this massive stage show, they had this huge lights, they had whatever, and it's like, I don't think they were ever at, you know, this big a touring attraction ever again after this. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but I just remember this being like the peak RATT show and really digging it at the time. You know, me today in 2024, I still like RATT, and I would still stand by their first three albums, especially that first one. That's like a 10 out of 10. It's practically the greatest hits. But I would say the first three for sure. Maybe Reach for the Sky, the fourth one. But I don't really know, because beyond the singles, I probably haven't really heard it in maybe 30 years or so. So I'm not sure on that one. Maybe it would be refreshingly great or cringe or whatever. As far as Poison goes, I kind of got over them pretty quickly. I mean, I did see them one more time. I'm trying to find my tickets. So here it is. This is them in November 1988. So year and change from there. And now Poison was the headline band. But 88 was probably the end of the line for me. Definitely for liking Poison and for really liking a lot of that music. And in my collection today, all I have is a Poison Greatest Hits. That's pretty much the extent of it. So, by the way, my Poison LP that I got signed that day was stolen from me. I think I know who stole it and when it happened. It was decades ago. But as proof that I have it, I found this picture of it hanging on my wall in my room when I was a teenager, right above my Steve Vai and Dokken again. But there it was. So I did have the signed album when I was in high school. Someone stole it from me in college. I think that's what happened. Anyways, friends, I hope you dug this video. It was fun digging back into these old days. I'm going to have a couple more of these. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
So, you have a MySpace page or something?